So everyone has an accent, right? There's no language that doesn't have an accent. Let's say for example is the English language. When you speak of the English language, there is a British accent, there is a Australian accent, and even American accent. So that's why there's no language that doesn't have an accent. And also there are various ways of speaking which are influenced by who we grow up and where we grow up and other demographic factors. And the way we feel about how we speak and how others sound to us can be also influenced by our society because language has a very huge impact in our lives. Like right now I am talking to you using the English language so that I can communicate to you and relay what I want you to learn today. And so it's no wonder our personal accent and languages get tangled up with our identities. So looking at this social element of language and how language forms as a part of our identity is the study of sociolinguistics.
So, good day everyone. My name is Lara May Labarinto Silay and I'm presenting these three sociolinguistics, idiolects, and social factors influencing languages. So, for you Ben, what is sociolinguistics?
Sociolinguistics is a form of language or a set of lexical items used by a socio-economic class, profession, age group, and certain groups in our community.
So, this part of it. So, sociolinguistics means a various societed with specific social class or groups. For example, a group of teachers. A group of teachers will see a group of teachers discussing about lesson plans. And this is groups. For example, a teacher discussing about students who usually stand up and a teacher discussing about their lessons. For example, a teacher or a faculty teacher. They're discussing about a lesson plan. And the other one is what do you call this? Beckies or gays are discussing about their boyfriends or some stuffs or some students who is discussing about the way their teachers are giving them discussions or the way their crushes or something. So there are discussing about their teachers or their lessons. So next is idiolects. So idiolects refers to unique languages used of an individual, influenced by personal experience or education and social interactions. So the next is idiolects. Idiolects is a unique language used of an individual. So Ben, can you give me an example?
So an example for that is we will use international one. So when it comes to a Filipino that you move to America, they will ask if where you are from since you have that different accent within them. So as for example, I will transfer to Manila and say something like different terms or accent. So they would mislead or misunderstand that.
So thanks, please. So next is social factors influencing language. These are several social factors significantly impact languages such as geographical location, gender, age.
So hello everyone, good morning or a pleasant day. I am Ben Jose Paculanan Jr. from section Block H. So as further, we will discuss the linguistics in social aspects or the sociolinguistics. So what do we mean by sociolinguistics? It's a systematic study that studies societal factors or of how does it affect society. Hello.
Hi.
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
This is about sociolinguistics. For you, what is sociolinguistics?
Oh, social linguistics means a communication through others, like verbally communicating or somewhat like that.
Yes, that's correct. And for you, how does age matters in sociolinguistics, or how does it affect?
Or age and communicating in social linguistics. Age may be affecting the way teenagers now use computers, like technologies, that somewhat what we call the ages. So some students or some people or teens use some slangs like lodi or such. It calls them idol. Then where means power. So that means that they learned the ages through technologies, and some people older than us, like 50s to 70s years old, are forming words that are in their tradition in form of like formal dialect.
Oh, so in the context, so our language really evolves from time to time.
Yeah.
So there are certain factors that have been mentioned by Miss Lara May earlier. So I will further discuss the social linguistics in aspects of geographical location, gender, and age. So what is social linguistics? Social linguistics, as I said earlier, it is a systematic study of societal factors and affecting language. So when it comes with societal or geographical location, it varies among geography, or it varies among places. So as for example, in foreign languages, so we have the American English as well as the British English. So in British English, they use other terms, as well as American English use other terms. So how does it affect individuals? So it affects individuals, as for example, as a American myself, or as an example. So as for example, we have the British English as well as the English of the American ones. So in contrast, as a example myself, so I am American. So this is only an example so take it or leave it, just that. So as an American who visits British or Britain, so you have to really identify what terms you should use, as certain terms varies from geographical location. So we have here, as for example, is cookie. Cookie there is something that is not baked, it is a biscuit. As for example with that, so it really varies among geographical location. And while in here in the Philippines, we have some aspects of dialects that used by Manobo, Cebuano, as well as Kapampangan and Batangueño. And in regards to that, dialect really varies among geographical location, as Manobo lives in Mindanao, and as well as the Batangueño lives in Luzon. So it varies among individuals of where they live. As a next example to that, we have the gender, or we call it sex. So it involves male and female. So female, you do use a more proper way of communicating, while men use more slang. As for example, they use a more different terms in regards to that, as well as women, they varies among individuals. So as they talk individually, so they use a more proper way to how they express their feelings, their thoughts, and information they should give. So further, it will be understood by individuals. So as for men, they use other slang, or something like they use a fillers for them to more acquire attention, as well as to more acquire the feelings, or more imply relationship with one another, with men actually, for making friends in totally. So lastly, for my report, so we have the age. So language really evolves from time to time. So we have technology, and we outrage or something share the language through technology, or through social media, enable for them to acquire more knowledge, newer knowledge today. So as for example with that, we have the which means powers, and something more slang like slay or etc. So as for the older age, so they use a more proper way of communicating as those terms does not exist during their times. So as for in communication, we have for example with that is matatas nga pananagalog in older ones of Filipinos. While us, we use a Taglish, which is Tagalog or English. It is a vernacular language which is mixed up with international language. So to sum up, geographical location, gender, and age really affect societal factors that affects linguistics or language, since it varies among geographical location, since we have a variation of dialect as well as we have a variation of terms in regards to that. As for gender, we differ from expressing our thoughts and it really differs with one another. As for example, also with that we have the gay lingo, which used by gay individuals. So it really differs from individuals who have a certain gender for them to understand and express what they want to express as further. So we have the age. So in age, it really implies that language does really evolve, including grammar and etc. So linguistics also, or social linguistics really broaden our idea of how language works in totality of our population. Thank you.
So, good day to each and everyone. My name is Therese Arozaldo, and for today, I will be discussing the part of K concept of social linguistics. And we have the socioeconomic status and language attitudes, bilingualism, and multilingualism. And now, let's proceed for the socioeconomic status. Before I begin with my discussion, let me ask something. Have you ever heard what is socioeconomic status? If you have an answer, please comment down below. And now, let's proceed. Language plays a significant role in reflecting a person's social status. In many societies, people from different social classes use language differently. For instance, those with a higher socioeconomic status might use more formal language and sophisticated vocabulary, while people from working class backgrounds might prefer to more casual and direct speech. Now, let's proceed to language attitudes. Let me ask something. Have you ever heard what is language attitudes? Please comment down below if you have an answer. Now let's proceed to my discussion. Language attitudes are beliefs and opinions of people have about the different language, accents, and dialects. These attitudes can shape how individuals are treated or how they see themselves. For example of language attitude is that we, the millennial, sometimes judge with other peoples because of our accent. They see ourselves that less important or unprofessional, which can affect by person's self-esteem and even limit their social career and opportunities. Now let's proceed to bilingualism and multilingualism. Actually, bilingualism is referred to a person who can speak two languages, while multilingualism is refers to people who can speak more than two languages. Actually, social linguistic study how people who speak multiple languages with between of them depending on their situation or their conversation. An example of bilingual person might speak one language at home with their family and another language at work or school. An example of that is speaking Tagalog or English or Bisaya. And now, in a formal setting like job interview, might choose to speak the language that is considered more prestigious, while the informal ratings, they might switch on their native languages or comfort from cultural connections. It also looks at how being bilingual and multilingual can provide advantages or challenges in different social situations or settings.
Hello everyone, I am Krista Navarro and today I am going to discuss the code switching and diglosia, which is under bilingualism and multilingualism that Therese has discussed. So first, we are going to define what is code switching. It is when a person alternates the language she or he uses during a conversation. So for example, is if I speak English and in the mid-sentence I am going to speak another language. Next, we have diglosia. So diglosia means a situation where two languages or dialects coexist in a certain community. So for example, Arabic people use modern Arabic to use with informal conversation. But for some, they use as the local or just the informal language. So next we have the language contact. So this happens when a speaker of different languages interact, leading to changes in their language. So for instance, if English has to borrow words from Spanish, French, or any other languages due to contact over centuries. So example for this, if I knew a Spanish word and I inserted it in an English sentence because I don't know what's the translation from Spanish to English, or maybe let's say in Chinese. So I have to say I like mifan. So mifan means I rice. That's the word that I borrow from different language. So that's all.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chanya Nagayanes. So this is my part. So borrowing, the incorporation of word or phrases, something like that. You have a lot of word or phrases that are truly connected. So but they have different slang, pronunciation, and spelling. So example of this is English borrowed especially from a Latin language, French, and Latin and Spanish. So I will give you some example of this. In English, we use telephone, or we call a telephone, but in Latin we use in telefono, and in Spanish also what we use in telefono, and also the Filipino use our telefono. So I will give you example as bicicleta in Filipino, and the they call this, and the Latin is bicicleta, and the French is, I think, is different. So let's proceed to the pidgins and creoles. Pidgins arise as a simplified language developed in a communication between speakers of different native language. So sorry sir, but I need to speak in Bisaya. So here's my understanding about this. So pidgins conduct is a simplified language are now developed to our community that between the speakers of different native language. So example na ani is ang American and Spanish. So after how many years, isakot ta sa mga Spaniards and Americans, na-develop na to ang ilang, ang ilang mga language. So a different native language that are we used right now. So for example na lang sa America, most of the Filipino are using English because of the Americans colonization na nasanay ka sila for how many years, almost 40 years na isakot na nila, and until time goes by, na nakasanayan na ito magamit ng English. So the second is the Spaniard, because the Spaniard is first thing nag-isakot is more on Visayan, so they are different dialects. So ang Spaniard is more on the Visayan, Visayan part, that ang ilang native languages na adapted to as a part. So like Cebuano, I will give you something, lamesa. Ang sa Bisaya sa lamesa sa Cebu, lamesa. Pero ang sa Spaniard ito is lamesa, like different, but nasa similarities. So Creole also is a language or culture that emerged from the blending of different languages and etymology. The same na po siya anime, pero ang kalaan ng anime niya is specific lang sa Creole. So for example, is Spaniard also. Ang Spaniard is lakas yung impact to our country that are truly evolved right now. Ganun, like culture, language, and most probably sa ato ang religion. So Creoles is a language or both the culture. So ang culture sa Spaniard is na-adapt na ito sa ato ang sa Pilipinas, specifically sa Zamboanga. So have you ever heard na words na language or dialects na at Chabacano, because Chabacano is from the Zamboanga region, specifically sa Zamboanga City. So they use a Chabacano, but sila similarities sa Spanish na language. Ang Spanish language is typical siya na region is so di siya the same sa Bisaya nga word or sa Cebuano nga word, pero ang Chabacano of Spanish nga language is flora di sila same or same din kayo sila. I don't know nga nung na-adapt nila ang kana na language because of the different linguistic and ethnic groups. So ang ethnic groups there is ang Spaniard. So let's proceed to the language planning policy. So in this part, language planning policy is something that I have some questions. I have one question for you because this is a part of my report. So language is for you. What is the national language in our country? So people say that Tagalog. No, under the 1987 Philippines Constitution, our national language is the Filipino. So let's proceed to my topic. So language planning is the action undertaken by the government and organization to regulate language used within a community. So in this part, nag-protocol na or nag-mandates na ang government or ang local government to use this what do you call this, to use this language. So or dialects also, but in order to this topic or this mandatory, dapat kailangan pa natin magbulat sa local government na i-approve para magamit ang ito. I'll give you example of this MPB ano ni siya, ang mother tongue. So was implemented in 2009. So ang mother tongue is implemented na siya sa actual schools, especially when we are young, when we are in elementary. So when we are in elementary, we use our mother tongue to learn basic on to communicate or to communicate to others, because ang mother tongue is one is the broad crucial sa tuang part sa una nga para mag-communicate ta. So sunod is bilingual education policy. So was established in 1974. So ang drama part is mandatory na siya or established na siya tungod kaya para ma-enhance ito ang itong pagka-Pilipino o ang itong paggamit ng English word. So on how we borrowing the word or phrases to another language. So and language planning and policy. So how we mandatory or how we use a language by the government mandatory. So and that's for all. Thank you. By the way, my name is Jenny Maganes and this is my sum part. Start.
Good day, everyone. My name is Jessica Soles. So we're going to tackle today is about research method in social linguistics. Social linguistics employs various methodologies to gather and analyze data. So first is social linguistic interview. So here is a brief explanation of social linguistics. Social linguistics is the study of relationship between language and society. It examines how language varies according to social factors such as region, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, age, and gender. So it also looks at how language is used to define who we are and where we came from, and how it can be used to shape our social identity. So additionally, in social linguistics, analyze how language serves and is shaped by the social nature of humans' behavior, including the values of we place on language variations, language standardization, and language policies. And for the second is dialect survey. So dialect surveys are a way of identifying regional differences and how people speak. They tell us how words choices, pronunciation, and grammatical constructions differ between region. So for the example of this is a researcher interviewed people from different United States region to study the variation of pronunciation of R sound, asking question, how do you pronounce the word car? So for the participant observation is a research methodology where the researcher is immersed in the day-to-day activities of the participants. The objective is usually undergrad community to study their language use, observing and taking notes on the language, spoken, context, and social relationship. So here is the explanation of sociolinguistics. So a person from the southern United States may use the word "y'all" to refer to a group of people, while someone from the northeastern United States may use the word "you guys" instead. The differences in language use is influenced by the regional dialects and social factors, such as where they grew up and who they interact with.
Perfect. Good day everyone, this is Jesse Ventura and I will talk about the research methods in social linguistics. So, without further ado, let's start. Social linguistic research employs various methodologies to gather and analyze data. First, we have what we call the social linguistic interviews. What is it? What is social linguistic interviews? Researchers conduct interviews that focus on natural speech in various contexts, allowing for an understanding of language use in real-life situations. Second, we have what we call the dialect surveys. What is it? What is dialect surveys? These surveys collect data on regional language variations, often using questionnaires to document linguistic features across different areas. Third, we have what we call the participant observation. What is participant observation? Researchers immerse themselves in communities to observe language use and social interactions firsthand. Basically, a researcher might want to go in a particular setting or area to observe the interactions and the language use among that particular setting. And that is all. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Tonacao and we're going to proceed to the last parts of the components concepts of the sociolinguist. The qualitative analysis. Qualitative analysis is a simple method using the numbers, and here the researchers are going to language variation and changes. Ginala nila changes ng mga different places sa mga diverse mga languages. For example, here in Davao City and Manila. So in Davao City, the researchers have studied both cities and ginala nila what are the language or dialect being used here in Davao City and Manila. And what are those changes throughout the days, or what are the new languages or dialects throughout the days or years passed by. Let's proceed to the applications. We have educations, language variations, also those with language variations, curriculum development, so the teachers and the event itself are changing strategy to dealing a classroom management. So by the diverse students, for example, there's a lot of diverse students in one classroom. So the DepEd and the teachers are going to have a different strategies on how to develop their learning capabilities through students. Next is the multilingual classroom. Each classroom here in different region have a multilingual classroom. You can say there's a lot of students came from the other sides of the country or countrysides, and different students from the other country itself. For example, the students from the America came from the Philippines, so they are learning new dialect or new languages. So the students or the teachers are having interaction, and we have to deal with that kind of problem. Now let's proceed with psychology and anthropology. From the word psychology means relating to society, and anthropology dealing to the centers or the roots of ourselves. It's identifying the group dynamics and cultural practices. So meant to say in language, people are learning to identify you, where you came from, where your roots, based on your language or dialect that you spoke to that.
Good day to each and everyone. I am Joanna Avilla, and I will be discussing the public policy and technology. So first is public policy. Sociolinguistic research can inform language planning and policy decisions. So the text highlights how sociolinguistic can be used to promote linguistic diversity and social equity in policy making. So this suggests that understanding language use and its social implications is crucial for creating fair and exclusive policies. For example, Imagine a government trying to decide whether to implement a bilingual education policy. So, sociolinguistic research could provide valuable insights into the language needs and preferences of different communities, the potential benefits and challenges of bilingual education, and social impact of such a policy. This information would help policymakers make informed decisions that are sensitive to the linguistic diversity of the population. So next is technology. Sociolinguistics helps analyze how technology influences language change and variation. So, technology, the rise of digital communication has introduced new ways of using language. So, sociolinguistics can help us understand how these changes are impacting language and how technology is shaping the evolution of language. So, for example, consider the rise of online slang of the use of emojis in digital communication. So, sociolinguistics can study how these are forms of language are emerging, their social meanings, and how they are influencing traditional language norms. So, this research can help us understand the impact of technology on language and how language is adapting to the digital age.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel S. Vicar and I am the last one reporter. So before that, I'll be reading first the conclusion. So please be listening. Sociolinguistics provide valuable insight into the complex interplay between language and society. By examining how social factors influencing language use and how language reflects social realities, sociolinguistics contribute to our understanding of human communication. Okay, before we end, let's have some recap about our discussion. So first, we have K concept and sociolinguistics. So in the K concept of sociolinguistics have 7 parts. So what are the 7 parts of K concept of sociolinguistics? So the first is the language variation. The second one is the social factor influencing. The third one is the language attitude. Next is the bilingualism and multilingualism, and the language planning and policy, and the last one is the speech community. So that 7 parts are only belong into the K concept of sociolinguistics. So let's move into the next part. The next part are research method and sociolinguistics. And the research method and sociolinguistics have only the 4 parts. So what are the 4 parts in research method and sociolinguistics? So first we have the sociolinguistic interviews. Next is the dialect survey. Third is the participant observation. And the last one is the quantitative analysis. So that 4 parts are only belong into the research method and sociolinguistics. So let's move into the last part. The last part are only the application of sociolinguistics. Application of sociolinguistics have the only 4 parts. So what are the 4 parts of application of sociolinguistics? First, we have the education. Second one, we have the sociology and anthropology. The third one is we have the public policy. And the last one, we have the technology. So that 4 parts are belong only the application of sociolinguistics.